Well, it's Thursday, February 19th. I'm Brittany Noble, and here's what's coming up on the breakdown today. Reverend Jackson Sr.'s children speak out since the passing of their father. His son speaks to the truth of who he was in and out of the public eye. 2 former officers and 1 current officer in New Haven will not be held accountable for Randy Cox's case after the black man was paralyzed while in their custody. And a special agent in the FBI, one of the few black women in the agency, she served more than 10 years as a decorated member on the force, and then she was pushed out. Why she calls the new leadership's practices appalling. And a black man uses his experiences with a near-death health crisis to make a change in the healthcare industry. How he's working to close the racial disparity gap among black people. The breakdown starts right now. Well, memorial services are set for civil rights activist Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., who died at his home on Tuesday at the age of 84. He battled a rare neurological disorder that affected his ability to move and speak. His services are being called a celebration of life. Jackson will lie in state next Wednesday and Thursday in Chicago at Rainbow Push, which is located on East 50th Street. The doors are set to open at 10 a.m. on both days. The People's Celebration at House of Hope is scheduled for Friday, February 27th, and doors are expected to open at 9 o'clock a.m. Homegoing services will be held Saturday, February 28th at Rainbow Push. The adult children of Jackson are honoring their father, standing on the steps of his longtime Chicago home. 5 of his 6 children, including U.S. Representative Jonathan Jackson, remembered him not only for his decades of long work in the civil rights community, but also for his role as a spiritual leader and father. His son, former U.S. Representative Jesse Jackson Jr., spoke to the truth of who his father was in and outside of the public eye.
With Santita and Jonathan, all of it. The caricature that you've created as a media of who our father is not the reality of who we know him to be. So what's happening now on social media is a more accurate depiction of the work of Jesse Jackson, and it's happening and occurring without you. That's the truth. Because institutional media has historically controlled the narrative of who Jesse Jackson is. You've made him to be more controversial than he is, than he was. You've made him less multinational than he is. You've tried to make him someone from a side of town and not universal. Today, the King of England has issued a statement about the life of Jesse Jackson and its importance. One newspaper is hung up on how many mayors he confronted. All of them were small by comparison to Jesse Jackson. He knew as they came and went that he was the constant. And our community could count on that. And so again, the caricature of who you think he was compared to the reality of the education campaign that is taking place independent of you is what's taking place. And as that figure begins to emerge in contemporary thinking.
Well, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth invited Christian nationalist Pastor Doug Wilson to preach at the Pentagon on Tuesday. Wilson, a self-described Confederate, has commended slavery, saying slave life was to the slaves a life of plenty of simple pleasures, and that Christian enslavers were on firm scriptural ground. He also has argued that women should be denied to vote and wives should submit to their husbands. Wilson preached a 15-minute sermon and said they were praying for a black swan revival or another great awakening of Christianity in the United States. Pentagon spokeswoman Kingsley Wilson said in a statement yesterday, Secretary Hegseth was glad to welcome Pastor Wilson, Wilson co-founded the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches and leads its flagship Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. During a Senate hearing, Republican Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno demanded that Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison condemn Minister Louis Farrakhan's comment made in 1984 about Judaism being a dirty religion. Ellison, who is an American Muslim, was at the hearing to testify about immigration policy. However, he was grilled over irrelevant questions about remarks made over 4 decades ago. Many are calling this action the true definition of anti-Muslim bigotry.
What have you actually done differently to help fight anti-Semitism in Minnesota?
I speak against anti-Semitism. I condemn it as repugnant and wrong.
Let's pause there. You speak against anti-Semitism. Will you condemn Louis Farrakhan's comments saying that Judaism is a dirty religion?
You know, sir, I thought I was coming here to talk about immigration policy.
That was a layup question, by the way.
No. I thought I was talking about immigration policy. I didn't know that we were going to be talking about all these matters. I mean, I'm reluctant to just sort of, we already had one thing where we didn't mention immigration policy at all. I'm fine with you asking about questions around asylum and things like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. But now we're going off in all kind of different directions. I think there should be some scope to this hearing. And so thank you for your interest. And we both share a need to condemn anti-Semitism.
A few of my colleagues have gone over time, Mr. Chairman. So I find it disgusting that we would have a witness who's the Attorney General of a state that will not condemn the fact that somebody said that Judaism is a dirty religion. The fact that we have a witness of that low caliber here before the United States Congress is an insult to this institution.
Well, former University of Michigan Wolverines black head coach Sharon Moore is now getting a chance to challenge the investigation that led to criminal charges against him. Moore was arrested in December, just hours after he was fired as head coach of the Wolverines. He's accused of illegally entering the apartment of a woman he was reportedly having an extramarital affair with and threatening to kill himself in front of her. And now Judge J. Cedric Simpson is raising concerns about what he called a glaring omission in the case. Simpson says the police detective failed to disclose Moore's employer-employee relationship with the woman when a magistrate approved the warrant for Moore's arrest. A Connecticut judge has dropped the charges against 2 former officers and 1 current officer in New Haven in a case involving Randy Cox. That's a black man who became paralyzed while in their custody. Judge David Zaga dismissed the cases against officers Oscar Diaz, Jocelyn Lavender, and Louis Riviera after granting them probation under a program that allows charges to be expunged from defendants' records. The judge stated that their conduct was not malicious. The officers were facing charges of cruelty to persons and reckless endangerment of their alleged role in the mistreatment of Cox while he was in police custody. Cox was paralyzed after sustaining a back injury in June of 2022 while being transported in a police van that lacked seatbelts. During that ride, the van's driver suddenly stopped to avoid another vehicle, causing Cox to be thrown head first into the metal partition. He did not receive immediate medical assistance and was dragged and placed in a cell by officers. Cox was initially charged with the breach of peace, 2 counts of threatening, carrying a pistol without a permit, and criminal possession of a firearm, all of which have been dropped now. In 2023, the city of New Haven settled with Randy Cox for $45 million. That's one of the largest payouts ever made by a city in a police brutality case. A Texas jury rules a black mother and her lawyer must pay $3.2 million to a white teen they say bullied her son. Summer Smith and her attorney Kim Cole accused Asher Van, of now 19, of forcing Smith's son, who was not named in the suit due to him being a minor at the time and is not named as a party in the lawsuit, to drink a cup of urine at a birthday sleepover in February of 2021. A judge ruled that Smith and Cole inflicted emotional distress and publicized the private information of Bond. This despite the incident being posted online in a Snapchat video. The video sparked outrage nationwide and led to more than $100,000 in donations to a GoFundMe page, all to benefit Smith and her son. But now they're being ordered to pay millions of dollars. Van and Smith are both speaking out about this ordeal.
it was immature. It was stupid. It was nasty. But that's not who I am, and that's not me today.
Defending my son was what I should have done, and I would defend my son still.
Avelle Gordley, the first Black woman to serve in Oregon Senate, dies at 79. She served in both the Oregon House and the Senate from 1991 to 2009. During her time as a state senator, she led initiatives to increase cultural competency in education, mental health, and the administration of justice. She represented people in the North and Northeast Portland. After Gordley left public office, she continued teaching Black studies at Portland State University. There is still no word yet on the cause of her death. And Dr. Norman Francis, the former president of Xavier University of Louisiana, has died. Francis became the first Black person and the first lay president of the nation's only Catholic, historically Black college and university. He served as president for 49 years, lasting until 2015. Francis reshaped Xavier into a national leader in producing Black graduates in medicine, pharmacy, and the sciences. He helped to triple enrollment there. And 5 Black surgical residents at Johns Hopkins Hospital make history by becoming the first all-Black team to lead the trauma and acute care surgery service. This milestone highlights a major advancement in representation with a high-stakes, historically white-dominated field. Some of the surgeons talk about their journey and the importance of this moment for Black representation in healthcare.
My parents are so proud. I am the first physician in my family, and I think it's so impactful. That's what's important to me. Equity has to remain at the forefront of how we deliver patient care, how we do research, how we scale programs up in our healthcare system.
Growing up in Columbus, Georgia in the 1990s, I watched my parents, my mom, a family medicine doc, my dad, a general surgeon, show up to serve patients every day.
The best part is that I get to save lives and have an impact every single day. To anyone who's watching, realize that your dream and capacity can only be limited by you. And if you can think it, see it, then you can absolutely reach it.
Well, Nicole Dunn is forced into early retirement after working with the FBI for more than a decade. She'll join us to tell us about their appalling practices within the Bureau ahead. And remember, for more news, headlines, and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day, visit the Black Star Network. We are your source for stories that matter to our community. We'll be right back. You're watching The Breakdown on the Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat. So they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of Black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased Black voters. Their goal, erase Black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
Well, today we are spotlighting the story of Nicole Dunn. She recently announced her decision to leave the FBI after 16 years of service as one of the Bureau's few Black women agents, but she decided not to leave quietly. She worked in prosecuting child sex traffickers and was placed on unpaid leave back in April of 2025 with 4 years left until retirement. But she believes that this move was a deliberate attempt, and Nicole joins us right now here on The Breakdown to tell us a little bit more about her story. Thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Good morning, Brittany. How are you?
I am well. Tell us a little bit more about why you feel this move within the FBI was deliberate.
I don't think it's been widely reported. It's more widely reported now, folks that are being pushed out, FBI agents that are being pushed out. But shortly after the new administration came in, and Kash Patel was named as the director of the FBI, is really when folks started quietly being pushed out. And it started with a number of demotions of women, and in particular Black female special agents. There were only a few Black female agents that were in higher level positions to begin with. And some of those women were demoted. Some were placed on leave and sent home. And then they started with kind of the mid-level management. And I was one of those employees that was just out of the blue. In my case, they told me I no longer qualified for security clearance. And I think it's important to highlight that because under the federal law, it's the agency that gets to decide who has clearance. So in essence, and I want to preface by saying this is my opinion, but based upon what I've seen internally within the FBI, in essence, the FBI used my security clearance and the fact that they get to choose who has security clearance to hide behind a racially motivated act of taking that clearance. So although I wasn't fired, I was effectively terminated because without clearance, you can't work at the FBI.
Were you surprised to lose that clearance?
Absolutely. There were no signs that anything was coming. I had heard rumors that they were going through files and looking for things. Just recently, I finally received the redacted file for how or why they made their determination. And it wasn't based upon anything that had newly come to light or something that I had done. They literally cherry picked stuff from my history, from when the FBI did their original background check on me to swear me in and bring me on as an agent, to now say I was no longer able to hold clearance. And they did that after, I want to point out, Pete Hegseth went online doing a live military action on a social media site, and gave away military activities as it was happening and put people in danger. It just doesn't make sense, other than the fact that I am Black, other than the fact that I was very outspoken when I saw things occurring in the FBI that I did not agree with and that I thought might be racially motivated. And so under the whole new DEI scheme that they came in and started letting folks go, and under what's proven to be some highly racial motivations that have occurred even more recently by this administration, I was pushed out.
Why are you deciding now is the time to speak up?
Oh, I spoke up as soon as my relationship with the FBI officially ended. I didn't want to run afoul of any of the rules prior to that, but I've been very outspoken since July, only to let folks know what's quietly occurring. Even in the last couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, there have been more Black agents that had previously been placed on paid leave that were subsequently fired.
And I understand now you were stepping into a completely different lane. You were the owner of Heart Notes Candle Bar. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
I do. One of the things that was important for me to get out there was we're only limited by our own selves. I had planned to retire from the FBI in 4 years. It didn't work out that way. And I had to figure out or determine what it is I wanted to do. I had always planned on starting my own business once I retired. And so that happened a little bit quicker. I enjoyed candle making. I had a friend that took me out to make candles one day, didn't know that that was a thing, but totally enjoyed it. And so when this came about, I decided that I have an opportunity. I have an opportunity now to move forward and do something else. I saw people on their worst days a lot of the time doing my work in the FBI. And so I wanted to see people on their best days. I wanted to see people happy. And so I opened a DIY candle bar and moved back home to help my ailing mother.
And tell us a little bit more about what makes your candle bar unique. What makes it different than a traditional candle company?
So here, folks are able to come in and custom blend their own scents. And what makes me even more unique in this area is I'm in Katy, Texas. I'm the first DIY candle bar in the area, and I offer over 100 different fragrances. So people come out. They can choose from 1 to 3 fragrances to blend in whatever ratio they choose, and actually walk out with a candle scent that they love, that they created themselves. It's a lot of fun. It's fun interacting with the folks. It's fun smelling some of the different fragrances and the combinations that maybe I wouldn't have thought of initially. And at the end of the day, folks leave just relaxed and happy. So it's about bringing the community in together and just creating a little light and a little sunshine in some very difficult times right now.
Well, the website is heartnotescandlebar.com. And we just want to thank you so much, Nicole Dunn, for telling us a little bit about your story. And we're happy to connect with you now.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, Nicole, thank you for joining us on The Breakdown. Coming up on The Breakdown, we take a look at the tireless work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and all that he did to change the climate of America. His tribute is coming up next. Plus, do you have a news story that deserves our attention? We certainly want to hear from you. Please submit your questions using our QR code, and we will be sure to check it and make sure that we investigate whatever story idea you have. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory, attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Black Star Network.
Yes, so we'll probably take you around one.
In our Black and Missing segment, Las Vegas police are asking if anyone has seen Lena Edinburgh. She was last seen February 6, 2026, around 2:00 p.m. in the 3800 block of Harris Avenue. She was last seen wearing a white and brown fuzzy jacket, blue jeans, blue and white Nikes, and a black JanSport backpack with a brown bottom. If you have any information about where she could possibly be, please contact the Las Vegas Metro Police Department at 702-828-3111. Well, in case you missed it on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland spoke with Ben Crump and others about the industrious work Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. put in to change the conditions of America for future generations.
And just an orator, wasn't just a preacher, wasn't just a civil rights activist. He was one of the most brilliant political tacticians that we've ever seen.
Right. That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He was also a policy man. You know, I think that because he was able to break down his lived experience into a way in which we could all connect. We could all live vicariously through what he was saying because it connected to the way that we were living our lives. And the dreams and desires. I mean, the whole keep hope alive. It was not just a saying, it was a way of being. And with him are a lot of hopes. And he understood the power of that and did everything that he could to manifest for people that level of political power.
Yep.
That enables that. That enables that. And we're all just, I'm celebrating Reverend's life today.
That's right.
He lived to be 85 years old. And for all of my lifetime, this man had dedicated his life, literally, working up until the last minute. I know that he was telling his staff things that he wanted to see done, you know, and so I just, I celebrate his life. I mourn with the family because I know what it is to take all of this in. I mean, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. The text messages and the chats haven't stopped. So I know they must be receiving a lot of incoming as well. And it's heavy. It's heavy for all of us, but I've chosen to be in a space where I can just say how grateful I am that he lived and that he did such extraordinary things with his life that impacted globally, as Representative Maxine Waters has said, globally.
Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, we appreciate y'all joining us for this celebration of the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr.
Thank you so much for having us, Roland, and thank you so much for putting together this opportunity for us to have this discussion. And at some point in time, I'll be happy to talk with you about his economic intelligence. He started to work with the big businesses in this country long before diversity, equity, and inclusion to force them into doing contracts and hiring. And we need to have people know about what he did with that.
Not just that, also what happened in Silicon Valley. So we're going to be, trust me, we're going to be doing daily tributes leading up to his homegoing service. And so we'll be definitely talking about that stuff as well.
Well, thank you so very much. I'm so pleased you're able to do this. This is like no other station, no other TV station, no other anything can do what you're doing. And you do it because you know what the Black people and people who don't get the benefit of the real thing on some of the major medias, that you can do it for us. And I appreciate it so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Thanks a lot. Folks, that's Congresswoman Yvette Clarke.
All I can say is ditto.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Folks, let's turn to somebody who knew him well, civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Not only were they fighters in the area of civil rights, they also both, your camera's fine, Ben. Tell them you're fine. You're fine. Tell them you're fine. There we go.
Yes, sir.
They all, both of them are also members of that youth group, Omega Psi Phi. It's all y'all got it's all good. So let me know when y'all have it. So Ben, every time Reverend and I would get together, he would always throw up the hooks. I would always throw the alpha sign. Y'all should have there's a lot of photos. Y'all let me know when y'all have it. We always joked about it. And the Omegas put out a video. We're gonna play it. We're gonna play it on the show as well. But just share your thoughts and reflections on the loss of this Titan.
It's what you said. He's a
Titan.
Titan.
I hear you just fine.
For most of my life and many people who are in that 50-some age range, he was always the standard bearer for civil rights in the United States of America. And on so many of the cases, he was always present. And that was what was incredible for me as a young civil rights lawyer, to see that this man who had climbed the highest heights would come and show up for the least of thee, Roland. And I never forget some of the lessons he taught me. I mean, we working on a hard case, and Reverend Jackson said, you know, Attorney Crump, he said, I want you to remember, you don't drown because the water is deep. You drown because you stop kicking. He said, Ben, don't ever stop kicking, whatever you do. And I never forgot that. Even when we're in tough situations now, I think about we just got to keep kicking.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about, when we talk about who he showed up for, there were so many places, Ben, public housing, rural communities, east, west, north, south, it did not matter. You never knew when Reverend Jackson would pop up to bring the cameras with him to put a light on a critical issue impacting not just black folk, but poor folks, working folks. Yeah. He was dealing with way before a bunch of these white politicians. He was in Iowa with farmers. He was with white broke folks and with Willie Nelson in Appalachia in West Virginia.
Yeah. And Roland, I just won this Emmy Award for doing this documentary called How to Sue the Klan. And when we're doing the research on these 5 black women that were shot by the Ku Klux Klan in 1982 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who do we see on the newsreel that came to stand with those black women? It was Reverend Jesse Jackson. I didn't see any other national civil rights leaders or anybody else, but Reverend Jackson came. He always was showing up, and I think that has influenced many of us. I know you always show up, Roland. People like Reverend Al, I mean, Jesse Jackson was that example for us. And I just think about all the wisdom he imparted. Another thing he said, Roland, he said, and making the arguments for diversity, equity, and inclusion, he said the argument they would always put forth against blacks and Hispanic baseball players integrating Major League Baseball before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, he said they would say if we let them play, it would bring down the quality of baseball in major leagues. And Reverend Jackson said, we didn't know how good baseball could be until we let everybody play. And he would follow that up. We don't know how good America can be until we get everybody a seat at the table. That was Jesse Jackson, along with Keep Hope Alive and I Am Somebody.
Absolutely. So he inspired so many. And I can tell you, Ben, there were numerous people, lawyers, activists, folk who called upon Reverend. His phone was always ringing. Can you come here? Can you come there? He spent a lot of time away from his family. But this is who he was. I mean, this was the life he committed himself. And in fact, anybody who reads Barbara Reynolds' book on him and other books, I mean, he often, just like Dr. King, checked himself into hospitals because he worked himself to exhaustion. And here he was in the hospital, exhausted, still working. And that's just simply who he was at all times.
Well, coming up tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland continues to honor the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson with Dr. Cornel West and Congressman Jonathan Jackson. That's tonight, starting at 6:00 p.m. Eastern, only on the Black Star Network. Do you like the work that we do here on the Black Star Network? Your support is critical to what we do. You can support us via Cash App using the Stripe code in the bottom left-hand corner. You can also help us out with credit cards. Use the same thing. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle at RolandSMartin.com, Rolling at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. If you're old school, please send us a check or a money order. It's all payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Our goal this year is to raise $1 million by December 31st, and so we certainly appreciate your support. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown. We'll be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, And I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Brie Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Welcome back. Joining me now is Raymond Achille. He is the founder and CEO of Balance Period. He's going to talk about generational wellness, closing health gaps, and empowering communities to make lasting changes. Raymond, thank you so much for joining us today on The Breakdown.
Hi, Brittany. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about Balance Period?
Yeah, so Balance Period is a wellness solutions company that is on a mission to help close the racial health gap by empowering communities, specifically communities impacted by health disparities, to create generational wellness, which is a concept that was birthed from my own personal health trauma, transformed into better health outcomes for me, my family, and my broader community. So a lot of the work is focused on health education and just creating opportunities for people to learn about different ways that they can better improve their quality of life and ultimately get better health outcomes.
And tell us how you got to this point where you decided to do this work.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I had my own personal health trauma. I was diagnosed with a pulmonary embolism at the age of 23, and I almost passed away from that. And that showed me that I needed to start thinking more long-term about my health and my well-being, which led me to just adopt healthier habits and leverage the health education background that I have. I have a degree in kinesiology from Indiana University, paired with my life experience to just share my story and help other people. And when I noticed that other people really resonated with the messaging around thinking longer term about their health and finding ways that they can pass down healthier habits to, future generations, I created a business around it. So that's kind of how I made it to where I am now.
So your work goes beyond diet and exercise. You talk about the whole person being well. Tell us a little bit more about what that means, especially for communities of color.
Yeah, I think, and even with my formal educational background, I was taught that it was exercise and it was nutrition. But it wasn't until I, experienced that trauma I mentioned before that I'm like, wait, there's another element, right? We have mental health, we have our emotional well-being. And so that's something that I really help people understand, because I truly believe that our inner world creates our outer world. And when we are in positions in communities of color where we have less access to care, less access to resources, one thing that we can control is our mindset and how we respond to what we're experiencing. And that can have a huge impact on the outcomes that we get. So I see, prioritizing your mental health as a great way that's actionable, that people can take action on right away, that can support their current and long-term health.
I understand Balance Period works with individuals, workplaces, and community partners. What solutions do you provide, from workshops to coaching, that helps people build better habits and live the healthier lives?
Yeah, so you mentioned our two primary offerings. We do coaching, we facilitate like wellness-based challenges, and we also do health education via like workshops and things like that. I would say the biggest element that we offer that people are able to take away from any engagement with us pretty instantly is breathing and practicing mindfulness. So we teach people how to pause and take a deep breath and reconnect to the present moment and leverage that presence to be more intentional about how they care for themselves. So a lot of what we teach is rooted in mindfulness and breathing, which is something that we do every day, but we do it unconsciously. So we just encourage people to just be more intentional about their breathing and learn how to better leverage that to promote their current and long-term health.
That's good. How can people stay connected with you and learn more about your Balance Periods programs?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, www.balanceperiod.com, or just tune in with our social media pages at Balance Period on pretty much every social media platform. We also have a free weekly publication that goes out called the Generational Wellness Digest. That is hosted on Substack. So if you go to substack.balanceperiod.com, you'll be able to access that. And that is just, filled with resources that you can use on a weekly basis to help you think and behave differently about how you care for yourself and understand that there is a ripple effect that you have on your health and the people around you.
Well, that's good. Raymond Akili, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about Balance Period. We appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. All right, that will do it for us today on The Breakdown. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for supporting the work that we're doing here on the Black Star Network. As always, you can go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, where you can find a ton of products where you can support us here at the Black Star Network and support a growing collection of Black-owned businesses. We thank you for watching The Breakdown. We hope that you'll join us again tomorrow here on the Black Star Network. And of course, Roland Martin Unfiltered will begin his show tonight, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern till 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for joining.